to be recorded. At any time, you can also drop questions in the chat or the Q&A. I will be monitoring those for Brad as he and Donnie are talking to you about the Jumpstart program. So feel free to ask questions at any time. And we are going to get started. So Brad and Donnie, it's all yours.
Okay, so we'll get started here, and let's see if so the three main contact people that you will run into if you attend the Jumpstart program. The director would be Dr. Rebecca Willoughby. She's the director of student success. Lisa Domenico is her admin assistant. She handles a lot of the communication for the program. So that is a name that you should kind of familiar yourself with. My name is Brad Swenson, and we will have a couple different mentors that will work with the different students as they go through the early start program, one of which will be Donnie. So you may be assigned to one of his groups. Anything else we should share kind of there with contact people? But okay, so when you kind of with your to-do list with Jumpstart, first of all, there's about 200 students that are going to be Jumpstart, so you would not be the only student that is coming in, moving in early. That would be about 2,000 in the freshman class that we'd be looking for. So Donnie, what would you say were the best things or nicest part about being able to move in early for the program?
One of the things I really enjoyed was just being able to settle in and get used to campus. I didn't really have a good understanding of campus, so just being able to walk around and getting there early. Making friends was also really good because I didn't know anyone personally going to Bloom, so I was able to meet a lot of people through Jumpstart, excuse me. And just getting settled into classes, getting the rhythm of classes and how you have to get yourself to class and that type of responsibility.
Yeah. So part of the Jumpstart piece would be is that we understand life happens. Things happen that maybe the academic record, there's some things that we think that could help in getting a nice, good head start on with a smaller environment can actually be really beneficial for some students. And I know that's one thing Donnie had mentioned when we had talked to him about being a mentor is being here on campus, not just getting adjusted, but it was before we had this major influx of people that were coming in. So to-do lists, things that are going to start happening. Okay. First would be starting to check your email. That is going to be very important. That's going to be the main way that we communicate with you. Part of the program will include workshops, and we have a couple already slated. We can kind of give you a rundown of some of the topics that we're going to go through with the workshops. The workshops do mimic a classroom setting, but the ones that we're looking at that students would be able to pick from, we do try to limit them to 25 each, so it's a smaller classroom environment for the students to kind of get exposure with. We have a College 101, life hacks for your first year and beyond. The next one would be gamification, gaming to teach others about social issues. Grit over it, developing academic beliefs and behaviors for big goals. Taking care of business, what's new in the business world. Who are you? Identity in your future. Functional fitness at its finest. And everything I learned about college, I learned from the movies. I know, Donnie, you already had a pick hope of which of a workshop you wanted to work with. Which one was it?
Mine was called College 101. I don't know if the name's been changed.
That is the same one. Yes. College 101, life hacks with Dr. Rogowski.
That one's a lot of fun.
What all did you do?
Well, so you basically just in College 101, what we did is we went over just like the important things of college. So we went to the rec center to learn about the equipment you get through it. We used the library. We learned about cost and how to spend your money in your flex, how to keep your room clean, how to be a respectful roommate, just like basic things like that we learned through College 101.
Good. So in about a month, there would be a survey that would go out to all the students, and that's partially where they're going to pick their workshop. There's also going to be some additional information that we need to gather before the program. Some of that would include any dietary needs that we need or special circumstances that we need to take into account for new students coming in. And then you should get a rough sketch, general schedule. General theme is the mornings, except for one, will be spent doing academic workshops. So that would be one of the ones that we just listed. The second half of the day would be spent doing academic workshops. Well, the workshops, the project. What was your project that you did, Donnie?
We did posters, so like goals we wanted to make in college and how to get to them.
Okay. Some of the others will include games. Some of the groups will do videos. It's kind of up to the group of students to put together what they want to do as a class. You do get to know the other students. It is great to work and be able to connect with the other faculty members, kind of learn how to interact in a classroom setting prior to the start of the semester. The one really nice part is that these are faculty that volunteer. They love coming in and working with this group of students. We have all the workshops except two are repeat presenters, repeat instructors that have come in specifically to work with this group. The program will end with a showcase so that all the students can kind of see and work on a little bit of presentation skills in front of the group so they can see what each other did and kind of see what types of outcomes, projects, artifacts that may come or be expected in a classroom or for assessment. Second half of the day is going to be spent in educational sessions. We're going to focus a little bit on overall wellness. There are going to be a couple different sessions. We're going to work on a little brush up on math, a little bit of brush up on reading, writing, all foundation skills kind of as a review before they start the semester. Most students will start as part of their fall schedule with a math or writing on their schedule. So it's brush up there, maybe kind of get ready for the placement test if you have not taken it before you actually start the Jumpstart program. You should probably be getting information about the math placement test. It is the ALEKS. We recommend take it probably as soon as you can while you still kind of have that knowledge before you forget over the summer. Anybody who's involved in a science, a COS, College of Science and Technology, or a health science program, it's going to be definitely required. It is encouraged for the other majors departments as well. And basically give you an all-over holistic support on how to be the best you can in college. But generally, the education sessions, it is mostly speakers that we bring in to talk to the students who have an expertise in the field. We try to make sure that they're not anybody that they're going to see when they go through and start with the orientation program with the rest of the students. The one exception is, and we try to do it, it was a request from last year that we did in the afternoon. One of the things that we do like to do is really focus on get to know this campus resources. And the one thing that I think is a little fun is we have them do a scavenger hunt. Big request was we did in the afternoon last year, and I think it was one of the hottest days of the summer. So the Jumpstart students for last year definitely requested that we move it when it's not so hot. So, did you have fun with the scavenger hunt, Donnie?
I really enjoyed the scavenger hunt, and you learn campus really quickly doing it.
Okay. We do try to do fun prizes. I'm not sure if we will do the same prizes this year as we did last year, but we typically have a whole bag of swag that as students come in and complete it. And it's a good small group type activity to try to break you out from maybe the workshop groups that you would have had in the morning. But it's definitely to have fun, be creative, and get connected.
Brad, we have a couple of, not to stop your flow, but we do have some
Yeah.
questions in that if you want to take the questions.
We'll do.
The first question is, will the survey be sent to the Huskies email? So our survey sent to their university email?
It is sent to their university email, especially for the first, yes, because that's information connection. It's better to start with the habit of using your university email. It is your signature with the institution. So the only way that we actually know that it is you and it's coming from you is through your Husky email. So even any type of communication on campus that goes to the registrar's office, if somebody wants to change a major, it has to come from your Husky email. Otherwise, they can't verify who the actual person on the other end is.
This is about the ALEKS test. So if my portal says I do not need to take the ALEKS math test, do I still need to take it for Jumpstart?
You would not need it to take it for Jumpstart, but you may need it for courses that you want to maybe trade out for in the fall or maybe for your spring schedule. So that's where I would still encourage you to try to take it sooner than later.
And
Just
if I,
it's go ahead.
no, go ahead, it's okay.
Just you never know with prereqs major, maybe you want to pick up a minor, maybe you want to pick up a double major, that it's easier to just have completed ahead of time. Go ahead.
I actually had an issue with that because I didn't take my math placement exam. I had to take a lower math class. So it is important to take it.
And the ALEKS test, just so everybody knows, because sometimes it does cause some anxiety and some stress for students, is not to determine, it's really to help place you appropriately, as Donnie mentioned, in your class. It's not to say where you're proficient or not proficient. It's to help place you appropriately in your courses. Now, there are majors, like Brad mentioned, that are required to take the ALEKS. And if you've paid your deposit, you should have received an email that told you whether or not you had to take it based on in your portal. So for example, if you are a business major, all business majors are required to take the ALEKS test. All college of science technology majors, exercise science, health science majors, mid-level education, secondary education, and all exploratory study students are required to take the ALEKS. And again, that's to help placement for you appropriately. You can take it more than once. So don't stress that if you don't score where you feel like you should be or need to be for a course. My son is a freshman here. He had to score into pre-calculus. He had to take it twice. That gives you study modules to help on the areas. It's a great design test to really help with your placement, not necessarily your proficiency in math. So don't overly stress about it. It's okay.
Right.
So I just wanted to put that out there because sometimes it causes a lot of anxiety for students. And then the other questions, we have two more. One is the educational session also going to be emailed to me through the Husky email to get started, and when is it due?
The educational sessions will be done during the program, so there's not really any prep for it. It will be part of your schedule that you're handed when you check in for the program. So that's not really a pick. They go rotate through about 6 different types of sessions. They do.
And this one's a little bit about housing. So is there a way to see which Jumpstart students need roommates for the year? No, you can't see, and you guys can come in too, but you can't see what other students need roommates. So when you pay your deposit and when you get your email from Residence Life to fill out your housing form, if you know someone with whom you'd like to live who is also enrolling, you can, as long as you're putting each other's names on your forms, Residence Life will house you together. Otherwise, you answer the questions honestly that they're asking. Like, for example, do you wake up early? Are you messy? Are you neat? And they try to match you up with someone similar, and you don't have to have a Jumpstart roommate for the week that you're here. So if you are a Jumpstart student, but it's somebody you've met in whatever capacity wants to live with you and they're not in Jumpstart or vice versa, then you can still live together. You're just moving in before your roommate would be here for the week before.
Which
Brad,
can be a really big perk because you get to pick your side.
Pick your side.
You don't have to worry about it because you would be moving directly into your room that you would be staying in for the fall. So there's no leaving. You just get to get there first, get settled in.
Definitely a benefit.
And then the last question, which I can answer, is how do I access my Husky email? So once you've paid your deposit, the admissions office will send you an email letting you know to check your portal. And on your application portal, it'll have a decision letter at the top of your portal banner. So once you get that acknowledgement from us, that will be your Husky email and your login to your university email and your university student portal, which is called Banner or MyCU. And it'll also include your university student ID number. So you have to pay your deposit. Then you get an email from admissions telling you how you can access it on your application portal. And then, as Brad mentioned, you want to check that regularly, because Jumpstart and their staff is not going to be the only office that will only use your university email. So it's important that you do check that, as Brad mentioned. So those are all, oh, we have 2 more questions here. If you cannot find your roommate when requesting them, what do we do from there? So again, if you're answering the questions on the housing form, honestly, they try to match you up with someone with similar answers. It's not a perfect process in that we're humans. You're living with someone for the first time, so you want to be open-minded about the process. Donnie's a student. He can probably talk about living with students for the first time. But that's how they try to match you up with someone answering similarly to what you've been answering. And Donnie,
it's
do you want to
really-
speak about roommates?
Yeah, I mean, it's important to get to know your roommate. There's ways students can get involved through apps like Snapchat that have that basically all Bloomsburg students can talk on and meet. That's how I found my roommate. I think that's a great way to go about it. But roommates also aren't set in stone. So if you get here and you end up hating your roommate, you can always switch. There's usually not an issue with it as long as you have a good reason.
It's really important on that survey that the students complete it, make sure that they answer honestly, truthfully, because that's a lot of times when you run into major roommate conflicts, is going to be when somebody in the family was being helpful.
And residence life will work. So if there happens to be a roommate conflict when you come to campus, we have an amazing residence life staff. You will have a resident advisor. Every floor or hall or wing has an upperclassman who is kind of your go-to person. They're there to also help through roommate conflicts, or just being, if somebody asks questions of, there's also graduate hall directors and professional residence life staff. They want to try to help work you through whatever issues you may have together. Again, you're living with someone for the first time, so it can be challenging. Even if you know someone and live with them, it can be challenging. It's not always more challenging when you don't know that person. Another housing question, Brad, what if you are in an LC? So I think the question is, can I be in Jumpstart and in an LC?
Yes, you can be in both. And the LC would, depending on the LC sometimes will dictate where a student lives. But different LCs have different frameworks. But you can definitely be in both.
If you have submitted your housing agreement and haven't put someone's name to room with, are you still able to request someone after it's submitted? You would just need to inform Residence Life who that student is. Hopefully hopefully all of you are engaged on the Zemi platform that admissions is part of. So it's another social media platform strictly for students coming into college. And so that's a great way to meet students and make some connections for potential roommates. But if you've submitted your housing form, you finally meet someone, as long as you're telling Residence Life by a certain timeline, I think it's by early June, they will do their best then to match you up. So you just need to be in communication with Residence Life. And then this is a question for admissions, actually. If my acceptance letter says, based on your academic credentials, we're offering you a unique opportunity to begin your early start, is it a requirement? Yes. If you have been admitted as an early start student, it is a requirement for you to attend the university as an early start student. So if you choose not to attend and maybe you go to a community college, that's totally your choice. Then you would transfer in to Commonwealth or to Bloomsburg either the next spring or following fall, pending your college grades courses taken at another college. But as an incoming first-year student, it is a requirement for you to attend.
Which kind of leads into this where it's, Jumpstart is part of your admission. The expectation is that you will attend all the sessions. We do tend to start sometimes sooner than students would like to, which is around 8:30. But it's mimics and it would go an entire day. Most of the activities don't wrap up until about 5:30 in the evening. So we do break for lunch and there's meal things and activities in the evening. But the expectation is that you will attend all of them. So I don't know if you may have a campus job or a job locally that you would need to kind of take that into account. What we do try to do is around move-in for the rest of the students. So it's going to be a slow move-in for the entire freshman class. You'll have athletes that move in, you'll have some of the Res Life staff that move in, Jumpstart that moves in, then you have some of the LCs that it does tier and move through. So each day campus will get bigger and bigger, but the big move-in day, everybody should be kind of good wrapped up when we complete the showcase. So and then they would roll right into the orientation activities the next day. There are optional activities that we do in the evenings. We do try to bring in some things, but there's also things that programming board will come in and bring in and do for students as well. So there's always stuff going on. Don't think that you're going to be the only one, and there's not going to be anybody else here to hang out with or meet or have new experiences with.
So Brad, a couple of folks have asked what is an LC, and I did drop the link to the Learning Community website in the chat, but
Okay.
I mean, you can start by speaking, and if I need to, I can add to the LC question.
Okay, well, LC stands for Learning Communities. So it's a group cohort of interest or maybe like majored students that they do activities with. There's separate mentors that will help work with this group of students. There's typically a faculty member attached to a learning community. So it's a way to make the university smaller when it can be a little bit overwhelming, but it's typically academic rooted, so that there is going to be a couple courses that link together that they'll take together. But it would be there's a whole separate office department that deals with learning communities on campus. So there's a director, there's a success specialist that will, if there's academic issues or concerns, that will work with any students in an LC. So some of them may be attached to major, some of them may not be. So it kind of depends on what your interest is.
They also have capacities on how many students they can take. So if you are interested in applying, you should have the LC application or interest on your application portal. So if you keep hearing me say portal and you keep hearing Brad say university email, because you're technically not an enrolled student yet taking courses, you also need to be checking your application portal regularly for important information, like your deposit letter, like potentially applying to a learning community. So the learning community applications are still open, but they are getting ready to close some of them. So if you are interested, you can check the website out that I sent, but also look on your portal for the application. Another question was, is there family involvement in Jumpstart?
There is not. We start the program off right after move-in. We do a banquet opening session with all the Jumpstart students where they would be expected to attend, and that's kind of where we review a good hunk of the program, what the expectations are. At that point, we like to try to break them up by their workshop groups. So from the very, very start, they're kind of working with this group of 25 that they're going to be doing their project with. Get to know each other. The faculty member that they will be working with in we'll call it simulated class setting, will typically attends as long as there's not an emergency that happens. So they can get to know the faculty a little bit better, the staff that will be working with the program, or they will run through or run into across the experience, whether it be mentors. Some of the orientation leaders will sometimes be there, but that's pretty much once the banquet starts, that's the end of the parent involvement.
And I know Hannah in their group has had her hand up. If you, Hannah, wouldn't mind putting your question either in the chat or the Q&A, that would be great. So we make sure we get to your question. And then so far, final question, Brad, and then you and Donnie can continue, is, does my chosen roommate have to be in the same LC?
That I am unable to answer.
And I did put Debbie Chamberlain's email is in the chat. She is one of the main staff members of the learning community and so she can answer specific questions like that. In some cases, students have to be in the same LC, I believe, to be a roommate, but not in all.
Right.
I would say it really depends. So it's really best to reach out to Debbie, depending on which LC you may be considering, because again, they have limited spaces. And as Brad mentioned before, some LCs do live in certain areas together while others don't. So it could depend.
I believe you can't live with someone who has a different LC than you.
I think it might depend though. Again,
yeah, it depends. Not all of them are residential based, and that's where I'm a little hesitant. So you could have one that there could be some maybe, but I don't know which ones are rooted in a living situation and which ones are more academic focused and focus more on the classroom courses. That's why they used to be called living learning communities, but not all of them are now have a living component. So
and there's a great FAQ on the learning community website too. So if you go to the website I put in the chat, there's a lot of information on their site, but definitely for specific questions that maybe we can't answer tonight, definitely reach out to Debbie. She's amazing and she will get back to you and give you answers.
And she has been working with learning communities for many, many years. So she's a good
Last
resource.
question. Oh, sorry, Brad. What's the difference between Accepted Students Day and orientation? So the difference is Accepted Students Day is geared predominantly for students who have not decided to commit to enroll yet. While we do have students who have paid their deposit to attend Accepted Student Day, it's kind of a last look day for students to really either say, yes, I'm definitely good with the decision I made, or I haven't made my decision yet and it's my last opportunity. You get to meet with faculty in your department. You are not scheduling classes during an Accepted Students Day. We have a mini resource fair with different departments and areas on campus. You can get a tour of campus or just a res hall tour, but it's kind of like a last moment visit. Orientation is designed strictly for students who are deposited and going to enroll at the university. That is when you will come, and the goal is for you to have your full schedule when you come to orientation. First year students do not schedule themselves with the exception of their seminar, and Brad can speak more to that because he's an advisor. But orientation is only for deposited students, and the whole idea of orientation is for you and your supporter or supporters to come learn more in depth about the university, what's happening with billing and meal plans and those kinds of things, your schedule, of course. But Accepted Students Day, those types of things are not happening. So that's really the difference. Brad, anything you want to mention about orientation?
Other than the fact that it's in the middle of June,
Yep.
so you can kind of plan accordingly. So probably just know that there's that time of year, there's also a lot going on in the town of Bloomsburg. So it may be good if you're between a couple of days to try to pick a date sooner than later before days fill up.
And that's a great point because we do have limits on the days as well. So the orientation is open to register. So again, if you've paid your deposit, you should have received an email on how to register for orientation. We do encourage at least one supporter come with you, if not both, because you will there will be information strictly for your supporters and strictly for the students during orientation. So if you've already paid your deposit, you've already visited, don't feel the need to come to Accepted Student Day. You need to be coming to orientation. That's really the next big step for you. If you haven't made your decision yet, you're still unsure, Accepted Students Day is a great, which is on April 27th, is a great way to kind of do a last look before you decide to pay your deposit. That's all we have for questions so far. So if you want to keep going.
I'm okay hanging out for a bit. Oh, and Donnie, Rebecca says, thank you very much.
Yeah, no problem. Of course.
I guess just a weird question for you, Donnie. How many of the people that you hang out with now, as you close out your first year, would you say did you meet through Jumpstart or people from Jumpstart?
So not a ton. I don't really hang out with everyone from Jumpstart, but I do have a few people that I've actually grown really close to. One's Corey, and the other two are Melanie and Isabella.
Okay.
They've been my friends through it all. So.
And Corey will be another one of the mentors that I know he already picked the workshop he wants to. So that's, I know a ton of stuff. So, but if we're good, no other questions?
Nope, I just answered the one who had a military obligation, just answered that gentleman. So far, no. Any other questions for any of us? You've been asking great questions, so nice work.
Could I say something about Jumpstart? Yeah. It might sound like something like really scary and like something you don't want to go to, but I definitely enjoyed it more than I thought it would. And there's definitely like it's more of like what you take out of it than like if you just go there and you're gonna take it as something you have to do, you're not gonna get very much out of it. But if you actually like go and you engage, like I learned a lot and it definitely prepared me for college.
Yeah, the transition from high school to college is very different. And so you're kind of getting a runway of a gentler start, if you will, than the mad rush of all of our students coming back right before classes start. And so you're kind of easing yourself into a whole change in your routine, in what you've been used to, of living at home, being surrounded by people that you know. You may know some folks coming to Bloomsburg as well, but it will be different. And so it can help with the transition and your preparedness. The whole idea of Jumpstart and that week preparation is for you to be successful. We want you to be successful, and you can be successful. And so, Donnie, I think you just hit the nail on the head. I think that was a great advice in terms of what they get out of it, and coming into it with that kind of mindset can really make a difference too, because we're here to help you as students, and your job is to then be a student. And how are you investing in yourself to get that? And so this is, again, kind of like your runway of preparation to help you be successful. All right, we have a question. Say, do we need to pay for a meal plan early because of Jumpstart? No, there's no additional cost to you for that week. It's your billed for your regular fall classes meal plan. Your meal plan will start the week that you are here, but you are not charged any additional fee. The only thing you have to pay up front right now would be your $200 deposit. So if that is our signal from the student that, yes, I'm going to be enrolling at Bloomsburg, that tells us that you intend to enroll. But there's no other costs for that week. You just get billed your traditional bill. About the end of July or so is when bills will come out for the fall. They are not mailed home. When they are ready, billing will send an email to the student letting them know to check their bill in their student portal. So just putting that out there as well. Parents can be put on as an authorized user from their student to get that email. I do it for my son. He had to sign me up as an authorized user, and I get an email when student billing is getting ready to come out. But if you don't sign up for that, they will not indicate information to you. With that, you also have to, if you want access to your child's financial record, billing, academic record, you also need to file what's called a FERPA, the Family Education Rights and Privacy Act. By federal law, your student, even if they're 17, is the student coming to campus. And if we don't have a FERPA on file, we cannot speak to anyone other than the student. And the FERPA, you can designate with whom we are allowed to legally speak. And so that's important. You'll learn more about that during orientation as well. But Brad, I don't know if you want to speak to that, but that, just putting that out there, not everybody knows that coming into college, especially if you're a first generation student, that we have to have legal rights to talk to you outside of your child.
Yeah, which can be a big difference. That there's a lot of permissions that are going to happen if you want your supporters to be involved. The other thing, so the FERPA is huge. I cannot talk to any parent without a FERPA on file. Another situation where some people don't think is, even though I work at the university, anybody who works with disability support services, they cannot, as an advisor, they cannot even share information with me about a student's disability or what their accommodations are unless the student fills out a FERPA and dictates that it is okay to talk to my advisor to let them know what issues are and connect with them. So FERPA is very big, even for people within the institution. Privacy is concerned.
Question here in the Q&A, will we get to meet professors, or is it strictly activities during Jumpstart?
All of the individuals running the workshops, they are teaching faculty. So they are people that you may wind up seeing on your schedule for classes in the fall. So the director, Rebecca Willoughby, she teaches as well. She typically teaches 2 sections of freshman seminar, which is a required course for all students to take as part of graduation. She teaches 2 sections based on horror films. So the seminar is one avenue that we use to help students transition across the fall semester. As part of Jumpstart, we will have additional workshops, engagements across the fall term, and some engagement with the mentors to kind of ease the transition across the fall term. Occasionally, yeah.
Is there a limitation to how many times you can have a visitor? And also, if allowed by roommates, can visitors stay overnight?
That's a better question for Donnie. I have been out of the res life game a long time.
Yes, they can. My girlfriend comes up and stays the night. And I have not heard of a limit on it as long as it's not abused. If your roommate's planning on staying for like a week, they'll probably get kicked out. But a few nights, I'm sure they won't mind.
I know one of the things that Residence Life encourages is communication between roommates, so that if you do have a friend coming to stay, that they're not, like Donnie just mentioned, they can't just, set up shop for a week in your dorm room. You do have to think about your roommate as well, so you do want to have that conversation that I have a friend or a family member, whatever, coming to campus. Residence Life used to have a sign-in option that may have changed, and again, that's a better question for Residence Life. I can
Yeah.
put the housing email in the chat as well. I did put the link to the registrar's resources site for the FERPA. I just went to their form section. They're currently working on the forms. You typically cannot file the FERPA until you've gotten your university login information. So once you've paid your deposit, you would fill out the FERPA. But I did put the link there for once they're done working on the forms, those would be live. And then the email for Residence Life, I'm going to put in the chat right now as well. And they are also very responsive if you have specific questions that you didn't ask tonight or that we potentially can't answer.
And when you stay, your car is checked in by police as well. So they do know you're on campus if you bring a car.
And depending on your meal plan that you choose, you get so many guest meal swipes. So if you do have a guest staying, you can swipe. My son lives on campus, but he has a friend who commutes, so they have lunch a couple of days together on campus. His friend decided not to purchase a meal plan as a commuter, so my son swipes him as a guest meal when they go to the main dining hall. You also have flex dollars on your meal plan, or Husky Gold dollars you can put on your ID for things like food or things at the university store. So if you have a guest, you can treat them to a meal, potentially with one of your guest swipes if you'd like to do that. Do we need to remove facial piercings for our campus ID photo? I don't know, and I can find the ID Center's email for you.
Well, and if depending on when they made their campus visit or if they have visited campus, maybe one thing that has changed is the IDs, the card center. ID Center is now in the Student Services Center. It is no longer in Elwell, so it is in a different place.
And normally, since COVID, my son this past year to get his ID had to upload an acceptable photo to the ID card center, and then his ID was ready when he moved in at his dorm. So that was good. You don't actually get your ID card at orientation. You'll get that when you move in, but I will put in the link to the card center here in the chat as well. With Early Start, are there extra costs in tuition? No, there's no additional costs. So you're only billed for your regular tuition, fees, housing, and meal plan. There's no additional cost for the week that you're there. Let's see. How do we schedule our classes as incoming freshmen?
Well, you will be scheduled on a block. So depending on major, they will pick 4 of your classes for you. The 5th course will be the seminar that you get to pick, and you will schedule that at orientation. We are working on a couple blocks if you're truly undeclared of what a normal schedule would be that would be applicable to multiple programs under some headings or structures. It would. So if you're interested in business, what may be good acceptable courses? If you're interested in something in the science or social sciences, but that would be handled by the registrar's office, and you should have that when you come. It should be done when you come for orientation, so you know front what times your other classes are, and you can work.
In addition to the week's activities, what are the other Jumpstart program supports?
Once the week is there and we're through the week, I would probably say it's looking more at making sure that students can connect with their mentors, connect with first year experience and student success, to make sure that the supports that students need across the semester to be successful, they know how to navigate and get to. One of the reasons we want to start with the mentor component is it gives students a direct connection to somebody that is more of a peer that they can connect with and direct questions to. Rebecca, Rebecca's very good at trying to make sure that information is disseminated, to make sure that it's timely. And that's one of the things that we want to do with the workshops across the fall, is to make sure information is being dispersed when it's needed. So we don't want to talk about scheduling during the second week of classes. The process, what you need to do would come once the schedule of classes is out. So it's a little more.
Anything special need to be done to bring a car? I can take that one if you like.
Yeah.
You will not need to, so if you do bring a car to campus as a first-year student, you are allowed. It's $40 a semester to register your vehicle. You cannot get your virtual parking permit until typically about August 1st. So it's not going to happen anytime soon. That would go through BUPD. Typically, we'll send an email, or email will be sent to the student to let them know when parking permits are open for the fall, but it's typically around August 1st, that first week of August, roughly. So not anytime soon. And then you register your car. You no longer get a sticker or a parking tag. It's a virtual tag by your license plate. And it's, like I said, it's $40 for the semester to register your vehicle. How does parking work for campus apartments? So if you are an incoming first-year student, you will not live typically in an upper campus apartment. We want the residence life staff, because you haven't lived on a campus, you will be living in a dorm for your first year. Housing is then done years after that based on how many credits you've earned. So my son just went through the housing process. He's a second semester freshman. He'll be a sophomore in the fall. So based on the number of credits earned, technically seniors, juniors go first. So if you are placed in an apartment as an upperclassman, junior, senior, you can park near your apartment. Otherwise, and there's a designated parking spaces, freshmen, sophomores park past our apartments, but you have to take the shuttle down to come to the dorms. Are the students in Jumpstart put in the same residence hall like the Honors LC? The Honors LC is strictly for honor students. But you could be in other dorms with other students who are in other LCs, athletes, what have you. But the Lycoming Hall is strictly for honors students. Although you can have, there could be a non-honor student living with them, as well as a roommate, from what I understand. Brad, you might be able to tell me is there a Veterans Affairs office contact you can give me?
Yeah, probably the easiest thing there is to call, and we can see.
There's some transition with some staff in some of the offices right now.
Yeah.
If it's military benefits for education, like GI Bill, that would be Amanda Kern in financial aid. And I can put this in the chat too, if it's something like wondering if you'll receive credit for prior learning for your military, for your MOS in the military, for your joint service transcript, you can send your JST to admissions, and we will send that to our workforce development team, and they will review along with faculty to see if we can give credit for any credit for prior learning, if that helps. Brad, another question is, if I'm a new student and in Jumpstart, who can I reach out to if I'm struggling after the initial week?
You just raise your hand for that one, Donnie?
I was just saying me, like, you
Oh.
could reach out to me.
Yeah. Couple different resources. I think it depends on what type of struggles you're having. If it's academic, there's student success specialists that can help you navigate the start of the semester, some time management things. There's academic coaches that work through the Learning Center. They can help you with some study skills as well. There are tutors on campus. You have a counseling center on campus that you can make an appointment there. There's RAs, GHDs that are all trained in skills to help assist students transition. There's the Dean of Students office that can help you as well. So I think it would depend on the nature of the transition issue. And that's one of the things that the mentors would be able to help you do, is what resources are the most appropriate.
We also have an alert warning system called CU Succeed. So if there is a student, whether it's academically or socially, potentially struggling, a faculty member, a staff member, even a student can alert in CU Succeed. And so that goes to either a faculty member. Brad, you can probably speak more to it, but there is.
Well,
an
yeah, and
too.
that's an interesting thing that, yeah, it's really actually beneficial as well, because the student can raise their own hand and say that they're having issues. And then at that point, as long as the student includes the nature of the concern they're having, it is routed directly to specific people. I am actually the person, anybody who's concerned about a program of study, wanting to change their major, they all get routed to me through CU Succeed. Yeah, there's the specific point people for what the issue may be they go to. So that would be, I always warn students ahead of time. It's like, yes, you may not know me, but you raised your hand and we can definitely sit down, meet, and figure out what you need to do to change your program.
The other question is, I'm curious, how long does it take for the kids to start taking classes in their actual major?
It depends on the nature of the program. Most majors, most programs, that is part of the block that they will be scheduled for their first semester. There is a sequence sheet that if they're admitted directly into the program, that they recommend for a student to take their first semester. So you can find it under the degree maps. But they try to follow that block as close as possible. So if a student is in a major, they will start from their very, very first semester. If they're undeclared or were admitted as undeclared, we try to help students adjust so the courses are going to count towards their program, or at least help them figure out what program may be the best study for them. Somewhere else I was going with that. I can't remember. But yeah, if the student was admitted into a major, it would be from the very first semester.
And some majors, quite a few majors also have requirements. So for example, my son's a biochemistry major, but he has to pass all of his major core classes with at least a C. So if he were to get a C minus, he'd have to repeat a course to be able to continue in his sequence. So some programs will have GPA and or grade requirements in at least the major core to continue on, and or like if you're going into education, you have to have a certain GPA at a certain time frame once you're here to be able to get into student teaching and those kinds of things. So just putting that out there that while a 2.0 is passing, yes, you do in certain programs, you have to pass each class with at least a C in order to continue on without having to have too many repeats on your record and move forward. So Donnie, were you going to say something?
No, I wasn't gonna have anything to say.
Sorry, I thought you looked like you were going to start saying something, but I guess it was just me.
No, I'm sorry. I could add that you definitely don't want to start with a low GPA either. That's one of the worst things you can do, because it's a lot harder to get it back up than it is to push it down. So start strong.
Faculty and advisors are your friends. So faculty they have required office hours through the week. Some of them have more than what the minimum is required. They give you a syllabus at the beginning of every course, which is basically the contract between you and the faculty member. They're saying, this is what we're going to do all semester. And you're, reading that. Some faculty, my son, his first day of class, they required them to read it and they had to mark in their online portal that they read and understood the syllabus. And so it's just so you understand what's happening through the semester, that there aren't surprises per se, but your faculty are some of your best champions in terms of your success here. And so if you don't understand what happened in class, or you simply have questions or want to have a chat, I mean, that's what they're there for, is to help students be successful. Talking to your advisor is really critical too, to help make sure that you're getting the classes as you need them, understanding what your degree path is, so that when scheduling comes around, again, there aren't surprises, as long as you are having those conversations and advocating and making those connections.
And down the road, once you go to graduate, do you look at grad school? Are you looking for recommendations for jobs? Your advisor, the faculty are really important in that process. If you're looking for an internship, A lot of times faculty have great connections that they maybe worked with before, did they to school with, great connections that they may know of experiences that may match what your interests are. So that connection can be really important. Generally, I tell students that what they need to do is each semester they need to collect one person who works for the institution as a go-to person. So whether it's an advisor, well, is it a professor that they connect with so that by the time they go to graduate, they have connected with 8 people that work at the institution. And sometimes the first semester, that person, I can tell you still to this day, the one that I connected the best with was Dixie. She was the cleaning lady in a different building than I lived in, but she was a great asset, great person for me to be able to connect with and actually kind of direct me and help me navigate through that first year of school. So maybe it is somebody on the maintenance or cleaning staff. It does not necessarily have to be a faculty member or professor, but connect somebody that you have as a go-to and make sure you connect with one each semester.
Any other final questions? We're about 7 minutes to 8. If you have any other final questions, again, you've been asking great questions, so thank you for the interaction. Thank you, Brad and Donnie. Great information as well. Okay, well, I don't see any other questions, so I think we are good to end the session. Again, thank you everyone for joining us this evening, spending your evening with us. Donnie and Brad, thank you as well for your time and information. And I hope, and you feel free to stay in touch with us after the session. Should you have questions, we're all here to help you with the transition. Should you choose to come to Commonwealth Bloomsburg, and I hope everybody has a great evening.